Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, translated with commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Adi Lila, Chapter 7. Lord Chaitanya and Five Features. Text 120. The Mayavite philosophy is so degraded that it has taken the insignificant living entities to be the Lord, the Supreme Truth, thus covering the glory and supremacy of the Absolute Truth with monism. Purport. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur comments in this connection that in all Vedic scriptures, the Jiva Tattva, the truth of the living entities, is mentioned to be one of the energies of the Lord. If one does not accept the living entity to be a minute, infinitesimal spark of the Supreme, but equates the Jiva Tattva with the Supreme Brahman, or Supreme Personality of Godhead, it must be understood that his entire philosophy is based on a misunderstanding. Unfortunately, Sripad Sankaracarya purposely claimed the Jiva Tattva, or living entities, to be equal to the Supreme God. Therefore, his entire philosophy is based on a misunderstanding, and it misguides people to become atheists whose mission in life is unfulfilled. The mission of human life, as described in Bhagavad Gita, is to surrender unto the Supreme Lord and become His devotee. But the Mayavite philosophy misleads one to defy the existence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and pose oneself as the Supreme Lord. Thus it has misguided hundreds and thousands of innocent men. In the Vedanta-sutra, Vyasadeva has described that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is potent, and that everything, material or spiritual, is but an emanation of His energy. The Lord, the Supreme Brahman, is the origin or source of everything, Janmad Yasya Yata, and all other manifestations are emanations of different energies of the Lord. This is also confirmed in the Vishnu Purana. There's the Sanskrit verse here. Translation. Whatever we see in this world is simply an expansion of different energies of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is exactly like a fire, which spreads illumination for a long distance, although it is situated in one place. End translation. This is a very vivid example. Similarly, it is stated that just as everything in the material world exists in the sunshine, which is the energy of the sun, so everything exists on the basis of the spiritual and material energies of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus, although Krishna is situated in His own abode, Goloka Eva Nivasat Nikilat Mabuto, where He enjoys His transcendental pastimes with the cowherd boys and the gopis, He is nevertheless present everywhere, even within the atoms of this universe. Adantarasta Paramanu Chayantarastam. This is the verdict of the Vedic literature. Unfortunately, the Mayavite philosophy, misguiding people by claiming the living entity to be the Lord, has created havoc throughout the entire world and led almost everyone to godlessness. By thus covering the glories of the Supreme Lord, the Mayavite philosophers have done the greatest disservice to human society. It is to counteract these most abominable activities of the Mayavite philosophers that Lord Chaitanya has introduced the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Harinam, 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 Eva Kevalam, Kalo Nasteva, 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 Gatiranyata. Translation. In this age of quarrel and hypocrisy, the only means of deliverance is chanting the holy name of the Lord. There is no other way. There is no other way. There is no other way. End translation. People should simply engage in the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, for thus they will gradually come to understand that they are not the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as they have been taught by the Mayavad philosophers, but are eternal servants of the Lord. As soon as one engages himself in the transcendental service of the Lord, he becomes free. Mam chayo vyabhacharina bhakti yogina sevate sagunan samatityaitan brahmabhuyaya kalpate. Translation. One who engages in full devotional service, who does not fall down in any circumstances, at once transcends the modes of material nature, and thus comes to the level of Brahman. Bhagavad Gita 14:26. Therefore, the Hare Krishna movement, or Krishna consciousness, is the only light for the foolish living entities who think either that there is no God, or that if God exists, he is formless, and they themselves are also God. These misconceptions are very dangerous, and the only way to counteract them is to spread the Hare Krishna movement. Text 121. In his Vedanta-sutra, Srila Vyasadeva has described that everything is but a transformation of the energy of the Lord. Sankaracarya, however, has misled the world by commenting that Vyasadeva was mistaken. Thus, he has raised great opposition to theism throughout the entire world. Purport. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains, quote, in the Vedanta-sutra of Srila Vyasadeva, it is definitely stated that all cosmic manifestations result from transformation of various energies of the Lord. Sankaracarya, however, not accepting the energy of the Lord, thinks that it is the Lord who is transformed. He has taken many clear statements from the Vedic literature and twisted them to try to prove that if the Lord, or the Absolute Truth, were transformed, his oneness would be distributed. Thus, he has accused Srila Vyasadeva of being mistaken. In developing his philosophy of monism, therefore, he has established Vivartavada, or the Mayavadi theory of illusion. End quote. In the Brahma Sutra, 2nd chapter, the first quote is as follows. There's a Sanskrit verse here. Commenting on this sutra in his Sararakya Bhashya, Sankaracarya has introduced the statement, there's some Sanskrit here, from the Chandogya Upanishad to try to prove that acceptance of the transformation of the energy of the Supreme Lord is faulty. He has tried to defy this transformation of energy in a misguided way, which will be explained later. Since his conception of God is impersonal, he does not believe that the entire cosmic manifestation is a transformation of the energies of the Lord. For as soon as one accepts the various energies of the Absolute Truth, one must immediately accept the Absolute Truth to be a person, not impersonal. A person can create many things by the transformation of his energy. For example, a businessman transforms his energy by establishing many big factories or business organizations. Yet, he remains a person, although his energy has been transformed into these many factories or business concerns. The Mayavadi philosophers do not understand this simple fact. Their tiny brains and poor fund of knowledge cannot afford them sufficient enlightenment to realize that when a man's energy is transformed, the man himself is not transformed, but remains the same person. Not believing in the fact that the energy of the Absolute Truth is transformed, Sankaracharya has propounded his theory of illusion. This theory states that, although the Absolute Truth is never transformed, we think that it is transformed, which is an illusion. Sankaracharya does not believe in the transformation of the energy of the Absolute Truth, for he claims that everything is one, and that the living entity is therefore also one with the Supreme. This is the Mayavadi theory. Srila Vyasadeva has explained that the Absolute Truth is a person who has different potencies. Merely by his desire that there be creation, and by his glance, sa aikshata, he created this material world. Sa asritata. After creation, he remains the same person. He is not transformed into everything. One should accept that the Lord has inconceivable energies, and that it is by his order and will that varieties of manifestation have come into existence. In the Vedanta-sutra, it is said, there's some Sanskrit here. This mantra indicates that from one fact, another fact is generated. For example, a father is one fact, and a son generated from the father is a second fact. Thus, both of them are truths, although one is generated from the other. This generation of a second, independent truth from a first truth is called vikara, or transformation resulting in a byproduct. The Supreme Brahman is the Absolute Truth, and the other energies that have emanated from him are existing separately, such as the living entities and the cosmic manifestation are also truths. This is an example of transformation, which is called vikara or parinam. To give another example of vikara, milk is a truth, but the same milk may be transformed into yogurt. This yogurt is a transformation of milk, although the ingredients of yogurt and milk are the same. In the Chandogya Upanishad, there is the following mantra: Aitad Atmyam Idam Sarvam. This mantra indicates without a doubt that the entire world is Brahman. The Absolute Truth has inconceivable energies, as confirmed in the Svetasvatara Upanishad, Parasya Shaktir Vividhaya Shruyate. And the entire cosmic manifestation is evidence of these different energies of the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord is a fact, and therefore whatever is created by the Supreme Lord is also factual. Everything is true and complete, Purnam. But the original Purnam, the complete Absolute Truth, always remains the same. Purnat Purnam Ujachite, Purnasya Purnamadaya. The Absolute Truth is so perfect that although innumerable energies emanate from him and manifest creations which appear to be different from him, he nevertheless maintains his personality. He never deteriorates under any circumstances. It is to be concluded that the entire cosmic manifestation is a transformation of the energy of the Supreme Lord, not of the Supreme Lord or the Absolute Truth himself, who always remains the same. The material world and the living entities are transformations of the energy of the Lord, the Absolute Truth, or Brahman, who is the original source. In other words, the Absolute Truth, Brahman, is the original ingredient, and the other manifestations are transformations of this ingredient. This is also confirmed in the Taittiriya Upanishad. Tato va imani bhutani jayante. Translation. This entire cosmic manifestation is made possible by the Absolute Truth, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. End translation. In this verse, it is indicated that Brahman, the absolute truth, is the original cause, and the living entities, jivas, and cosmic manifestation are effects of this cause. The cause being a fact, the effects are also factual. They are not illusion. Sankaracarya has inconsistently tried to prove that acceptance of the material world and the jivas to be byproducts of the Supreme Lord is an illusion, because in this conception, the existence of the material world and the jivas is different and separate from that of the Absolute Truth. With this jugglery of understanding, Mayavad philosophers have propagated the slogan Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya, which declares that the Absolute Truth is fact, but the cosmic manifestation and the living entities are simply illusions, and that all of them are in fact the Absolute Truth, and that the material world and living entities do not separately exist. It is therefore to be concluded that Sankaracarya, in order to present the Supreme Lord, the living entities, and the material nature as indivisible and ignorant, tries to cover the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He maintains that the material cosmic manifestation is mithya, or false. This is a great blunder. If the Supreme Personality of Godhead is a fact, how can his creation be false? Even in ordinary dealings, one cannot think the material cosmic manifestation to be false. Therefore, Vaishnava philosophers say that the cosmic creation is not false, but temporary. It is separated from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but since it is wonderfully created by the energy of the Lord, to say that it is false is blasphemous. Non-devotees factually appreciate the wonderful creation of material nature, but they cannot appreciate the intelligence and energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead who is behind this material creation. Sripad Ramanujacharya, however, refers to a Vedic sutra, Atma va idam agra asit, which points out that the Supreme Atma, the Absolute Truth, existed before the creation. One may argue, quote, if the Supreme Personality of Godhead is completely spiritual, how is it possible for him to be the origin of creation and have within himself both material and spiritual energies? End quote. To answer this challenge, Sripad Ramanujacharya quotes a mantra from the Taittiriya Upanishad which states, there's a Sanskrit mantra here. This mantra confirms that the entire cosmic manifestation emanates from the Absolute Truth, rests upon the Absolute Truth, and after annihilation again re-enters the body of the Absolute Truth, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The living entity is originally spiritual, and when he enters the spiritual world or the body of the Supreme Lord, he still retains his identity as an individual soul. In this connection, Sripad Ramanujacharya gives the example that when a green bird enters a green tree, it does not become one with the tree. It retains its identity as a bird, although it appears to merge in the greenness of the tree. To give another example, an animal that enters a forest keeps its individuality, although apparently the beast merges in the forest. Similarly, in material existence, both the material energy and the living entities of the marginal potency maintain their individuality. Thus, although the energies of the Supreme Personality of Godhead interact within the cosmic manifestation, each keeps its separate individual existence. Merging in the material or spiritual energies, therefore, does not involve loss of individuality. According to Sri Ramanujapada's theory of Vishishtadvaita, although the energies of the Lord are one, each keeps its individuality, Vaishishta. Sripad Shankaracharya has tried to mislead the readers of Vedanta Sutra by misinterpreting the words Anandamaya Vyasat, and he has even tried to find fault with Vyasadeva. All the codes of the Vedanta Sutra need not be examined here, however, since we intend to present the Vedanta Sutra in a separate volume.